This is not 1980s OSU.
Remember, always have faith in God, but have faith in yourself, and certainly have faith in the Cowboys.
Back at it. Welcome back to another edition of the Pistols Firing Podcast. I'm Carson Cunningham, joined as always by Colby Powell. Colby, how are we doing on this Thursday night?
Doing good. Yeah, been a good week. We're getting ready for Christmas. First celebration is this weekend with my wife's parents. We went and did the zoo lights last night. That was a lot of fun. So getting that all taken care of. I did have wrist surgery earlier today, so going to be rehabbing from that for a while. It's nothing crazy. I've had a ganglion cyst in there for years, and finally it got bad enough where it's constantly giving me hell. So got that taken out earlier today, and in a little bit of pain right now, but glad to be rid of it.
You timed it well. You planned accordingly for golf season coming to a close as we head into winter.
Well, not only that, we didn't do a December ski trip this year. First ski trips we're going on is like 3 weeks into January, so this gives me 5-6 weeks to be fully healed, do some strengthening and stretching and mobility and stuff, and be ready to go skiing. And then I think I'm going skiing 3 times before golf season starts in March. So it'll really be ramping up. So this is like my one little rest period where I was able to get it done.
Hopefully your injury history will be behind you. You're too young to have this many injuries.
Dude, and for whatever reason, some people are just like prone to cysts. I had a pilonidal cyst like 4, 5, 6 years ago. I had to get taken out. Now I've had a ganglion cyst I've had to get taken out. And like, these are annoying. I was really hoping she could just numb me up with some local and go in and take it out. No, it was full anesthesia. Like, they had to get me in the surgery center and put me on the table and put me to sleep. So got me a nice little nap middle of the day. And now we're ready to pod.
Well, we all deal with something, and I don't believe I've ever shared this on the podcast. I certainly wasn't planning on it. It's not something I talk a lot about or broadcast publicly, but we all deal with things, health-related, injury-related in your case. I'm glad you wear a helmet when you ski. That wasn't a thing when I was a kid.
Oh, yeah.
Kind of crazy to look back on when I was like 8 going down the ski slopes not wearing a helmet. One of my few ski trips of my life. Luckily, I survived that, but
that's insane.
I'm type 1 diabetic. I wear an insulin pump. I was diagnosed at age 24, really late in life for that to be a diagnosis. It happens way more now. I don't know if it's like the foods we ate as kids, but I've had several friends in their mid-30s diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. Big distinction there for people who aren't aware between type 2, where it's more health-related, and type 1, where your pancreas just decides to quit working. Usually as a juvenile, it's juvenile diabetes. So that was something I had to adjust to my first year out of college. So we all deal with things, and now at the time it was pretty jarring and devastating at the time. You go through the whole why me phase, but now it's just like brushing my teeth. So we all do the best we can and deal with what comes our way. That's life. But wasn't planning on sharing that, Colby, but thought I'd just let you know what's going on in my world. I'm constantly dealing with that.
Myself and the listeners love learning more about you. Did I know about that and forget about it, or did I not know about that?
I used to get people used to give me a lot of crap on the golf course if my like sensor was beeping on my phone or my pump itself was beeping. Because when you're golfing, like it's not like a strenuous workout, but you're walking for 3-4 hours, even if you're in a cart, and it kind of pumps your heart rate up to where your blood sugar can drop very quickly. And so I always had to have the cart girl nearby to get a candy bar or something to kind of raise the blood sugar. So I'm sure at one point you knew, but it's not something because it's a big learning curve. Unless you have known someone that has type 1 diabetes, you don't really understand it. I didn't understand it when they told me. I was like, what are you talking about? I work out, I'm healthy, how am I diabetic? When they had to kind of explain what was going on with my body. And so I just don't like having to like go down the whole story of what happened and try to educate on what type 1 is versus type 2. So I kind of keep it to myself, but it is something I deal with. And I do think it's important to share because who knows, there's probably kids out here listening that are dealing with that right now or have been diagnosed recently. Who knows? People are constantly running into us in public saying they listen that we didn't know about. So again, it's something I manage. It's a daily thing that I deal with. It's frustrating at times, but overall, it's kind of made me more health conscious in a way. And I was really thankful that it happened when I was 24, living on my own for the first time out of college. I mean, I lived alone at college, obviously, but I would have been in real trouble as a kid trying to do this, going to grade school and high school. And I was a soccer player. There's no timeouts in soccer, Colby. You can't just say, hey, timeout. I got low blood sugar. I guess you could get a sub, but I was the goalkeeper. I didn't come off the field. So I in a way, it kind of happened at a good time for me to grow up and realize this is something you got to do. And it was kind of insane. Like, I guess it's not insane, but I guess most people's reactions when they're told is they just don't even accept it and don't try, and their blood sugar gets really high and creates a lot of health issues. And I took it head on and was like, of course I'm going to manage this. My life literally depends on it. So it was something I embraced early once I got past that kind of anger into acceptance phase. So yeah, that's what I deal with on a daily basis. But hopefully if you're out there and you know someone dealing with it, that you can lift them up and say, hey, be sure to bring your Skittles out to the golf course so your blood sugar doesn't drop too quick.
Yeah.
Because that gets kind of scary.
No doubt.
Hard to putt when your hands are shaking, Colby. They shake anyway when I'm nervous, let alone if my blood sugar is a little low.
Well, and it's hard enough to putt anyway because they made the hole so small. So, yeah, you don't want to be shaking out there while you're trying to do that. So, thanks for sharing. I will learn something new about Carson off my bingo card for tonight's pod.
Hey, I'm an open book, and your mom was very sweet when we went to the game together, and she kind of stopped me and said, hey, thank you for sharing your sobriety journey. You never know who's listening, and that can help them through that. And I thought that was very, very sweet from your mom, and it really kind of took me back to my thought process when she said that. I was like, yeah, like this is something I want to share, and if it helps one person, that's worth it. So I didn't know we were going to get on this tangent, but thanks for everyone for joining. We got a lot to get to with Oklahoma State sports. OSU basketball just got another win against Kansas City. It was kind of dicey there at times in the second half. We got to discuss the Bedlam loss that happened over the weekend. But first, let's hear from Chris's University Spirit, your one-stop cowboy shop. Be sure to shop at chrisuniversityspirit.com. Longtime sponsor of the show. We love Chris's. They've been with us every step of the way on this podcast. They're still rocking the 231 section 2 no shirty one. Eric Morris, I'm sure, will get very acclimated to that group and the OSU fan base. He's already done so. And we appreciate Chris's sponsoring the podcast as always. I'm a little rusty here, Colby. Let me get back to, there we go. I'm a little rusty on the ones and twos here. We did the reload pod with the gang. That was a lot of fun. We appreciate Marshall for setting that up with us to get with Nathan and Justin, and that was a lot of good times there. But back to our regularly scheduled programming, Colby. I mean, Bedlam loss. That was. Let's get into that off the top. That was just such a frustrating game to watch, and I would have an easier time accepting it because look, we all understand that while OSU was putting up a lot of points, Colby, they did have some defensive deficiencies that Steve Lutz was pointing out pretty consistently in post games. But it'd be much easier to stomach had they lost that game and they had your boy Parsifala in there. It just felt like, God, it felt like the year that Justin Blackman was dragging his leg behind him injured in Bedlam. And they weren't quite at full capacity, which has been kind of a constant theme here so far this year with injuries.
Oh, man, I was so bummed when he went out, and I was being such a negative Nancy the whole rest of the game. I kept telling Dana, I was like, we just don't have enough. We don't have enough. We're one guy short. And, Oklahoma State would go on a little run, take that small lead in the second half, and then OU would go on a 6-0 run. And I'm like, there it is. We just don't have enough. We're one Parsifala short. We just need one more Parsifala, and we could win this game. And we just didn't have him. There were some definite defensive deficiencies. Nigel Pack shot the ball well. Brown shot the ball well. Some of those were open. Some of those were great shots. Pack was definitely chucking, but that's what he does. He's a shooter. Shoot. Some of those are going to go in. Oklahoma State, I thought, played okay offensively, and I thought they managed their way around the Parsifala injury as well as they could. That's one of your best players and certainly your best interior presence in a game in which I think you could have dominated Oklahoma in there had you had a healthy Parsifala, because they really were trying to just shoot the three. Again, Nigel Pack was just airing it out. And then they had some good drives where they were able to get inside and there just wasn't enough resistance down there. And I really thought not having Follow was a big deal there. Is that us making an excuse? Yeah, obviously. We're making an excuse. One of Oklahoma State's best players was hurt coming into the game. My parents were at that game. My mom was texting me before the game. Follow looks stiff. Doesn't look like he's walking great. Goes out there, plays 10 minutes, and he doesn't have anything left to come back in the second half. So you can call it an excuse. You can call it a reason. There is no way to know for sure whether Oklahoma State wins that game if he plays healthy, his normal, 28 minutes. But I sure would have liked to have seen it because, yeah, it was a bummer watching OU have just enough to pull away in those last 5 minutes with no Parsifala on the floor the entire second half.
Does he make a big difference defensively? Because we talk so much about his back-to-the-back game and how old school he is. He can just take you down to the block and work you to death. Because to me, I don't think I can blame it on that. For me, it was more without him in there. And, well, first, just tell me, Colby, in your mind, how big of a difference does he make defensively?
Not a huge difference in terms of being an elite defender. I think just the pure size, 6'10", bordering on 6'11". He's got broad shoulders and he's got good footwork so he can move around in the paint a little bit. I don't think he's like an Isaiah Hartenstein level defender down there or something like that, where he's really making life miserable for guys inside. But I think just the size and the ability to move his feet enough, a couple of plays a game, a couple of more contests at the rim. I think he matters a little bit in there, but I don't think Oklahoma State was poor defensively on Saturday because there was no Parsifala.
Yeah, and that's a good point you make about his just sheer size, because there were so many easy buckets when OSU kept trying to cut into the lead, get back to level score there. But for me, the biggest difference was the defensive breakdowns on pick and rolls, driving kicks. This was like a classic NBA game before the entire league changed, where you'd play a team that had that 6'11", 6'10", 7-footer that can't move, and they would just drive and kick you to death and just bury you with the three-pointer. And for me, it was the pick and rolls, the drives and kicks that OSU simply could not adjust to nor handle at all. And I think besides Coleman, and this is something Dave and John consistently brought up on the broadcast, they obviously recognize this as a big weakness on the team and the roster. We know they're deep. We know there's a lot of depth. We know they've been able to manage injuries because of that depth. But their lack of athleticism at the 4 and 5 spot really hurts them defensively. And I think that's what we saw, is those guys could not close down the drivers, and the wing guys could not close down the kick attempts for the threes. And it looked really easy for OU at times there in the second half. I mean, they scored, I think Marshall had the stat, they scored on, I don't have it in front of me, but a 75% of their last 17, 18 points, they just
it was 11 of their last 16 shots. They made 11 of their last 16 shots in that game.
That's it. Thank you for having that. That just kind of tells the story of the whole game for me.
Yeah, and you mentioned Christian Coleman tonight against Kansas City. We're recording late Thursday night. That game actually just ended about 20 minutes ago. Coleman led Oklahoma State in minutes. He led Oklahoma State in points, and he led Oklahoma State in rebounds. Christian Coleman, that is. He had 20 points on 8 of 12 from the floor. He had 10 rebounds for a nice double-double in that win. And he does bring some athleticism that Oklahoma State desperately needs. And he was feasting against Oklahoma in that second half on Saturday, and he was really the guy. I actually watched that game until there were about 10 minutes to go, and with 10 minutes to go, I had to get in the car and drive to Chickasha. My buddy's daughter was turning 3, so we had to get down there. And so I was listening to Dave and John in the car, and they were raving about Christian Coleman. And it got to the point where I was listening. I was driving down 44. I'm listening to the broadcast, and I'm just waiting to hear the words Christian Coleman. They're like, Roy's got it at the wing, swings it over. Now it's Mantzukas. And I'm like, Christian Coleman. Okay, he's got it. Here we go. And, yeah, he was playing well. And his athleticism, it jumps off the screen at you just because of his size and his length, and the way he moves with that length is a little bit different than what you see from a lot of guys at the collegiate level. So he played 37 minutes tonight, Carson. I don't know if you want him at 37 minutes a night. I know these guys are young, but that's just an absurd amount of minutes in a 40-minute game. But yeah, I expect to see Christian Coleman be more of a focal point, especially certainly right now with Fala out. But now Oklahoma State's going to have to shift some other things around. Kanye Clary, I mean, Carson, I don't want to say the worst 3 letters in knee ligaments, but
That looked bad.
doesn't look good. It doesn't look good for Kanye Clary. And gosh, I hate that for him. He'd gotten off to a good season. He'd established himself as the starter. And I really think Jalen Curry is a good player. And I think Curry and Clary are somewhat interchangeable at that guard position. But I think where it really hurts you is you don't have that depth now. You don't have the ability to play them together on the court and have an extra ball handler out there if teams are pressing you. Like, I think depth with guards really matters in college basketball in terms of just getting the ball up the floor, not turning it over, getting more possessions than the opponent. And so that injury is going to hurt. So I'll be curious to see how it looks over the next few weeks if that injury is as bad as we fear it might be.
Yeah, for people who didn't watch the game tonight, Clary's driving to the hoop, got one man somewhat like on his hip, and he plants his foot to go up for a layup, and his knee just gives out to where he doesn't even hardly get airborne, and he's down. The trainers stand over for a little bit, and he has to be kind of helped off the floor, putting no weight on it, and it looked like one of those classic ACL, dreaded 3-letter injuries. But who knows? It could be just a sprain. It could have been just, something less severe than that. It just did not look good, and really it's so disappointing that there's been so much momentum building with this program out to their best start in a many years, nearly 20 years, and they just have consistently dealt with injuries throughout, and it's really disappointing. But the number one thing that Steve Lutz is concerned with right now is defense, and this is what he had to say this week is about the defense. Is, quote, "We've always spent a lot of time in the film, but this is now bone on bone, man on man. Who's going to stop the other person? That's where we're at. All the schemes and all the vernacular we use, it doesn't matter if you don't guard the basketball. It doesn't matter if you don't go box out your opponent and get the dang ball. It doesn't matter. So we're back to the basics on the physical, every possession, grinded out defense. That's where we're at." And that was kind of my takeaway out of Bedlam. I don't think I tweeted it. It's been about a week since that game, but I wanted to tweet, it's time to break out the football pads. Everyone remembers that great Final Four year in 2004. Well, they got off to kind of a rough start, if I remember right, in Big 12 play. And Eddie Sutton famously brought out the football pads and had them start hitting each other underneath the rim to teach them that this is a physical game. And I preach at the church of Coach Iba, and that church was established on defense. And that's kind of where Steve Lutz is at. He might not have the same personnel. It's a totally different era. I get all those things, but basketball is a simple game when you break it down, and you got to guard the ball. You got to be able to adjust defensively to what OU is doing. Very simple game there, driving kicks. So they do get a win. They've got some – I saw John Rothstein mention these as bye games, not BYE, BUY, meaning you're paying these schools to come in and play, you beat them, and then it's Big 12 play. So it's going to be pretty much status quo until they get to Big 12 play to see if they've really truly adjusted defensively, because they clearly have work to do on that end. But there was a great stretch right before you and I came in to start recording. I tell you what, man, Victorious Miller's, we don't know what it is, but he's got it. He had this play where he swats the guy up against the glass at almost a goaltend, but it's just a supremely athletic play defensively, runs the other way and slams it in a dude's face, gets the Markel Brown ceremonial technical foul by just looking in the guy's direction, which referees just cannot avoid swallowing their whistle on. They love it. They cannot wait to call a technical foul when that happens. But Victorious Miller's just got that get you out of your seat ability, does he not?
Yeah, first of all, with the refs, like, there has to be a line. You have to draw the line somewhere in terms of taunting an opponent. My God, but there has to be a line. It can't just be nothing. You can't just get teed up for almost nothing. He looked at him for a split second. He gets teed up, and Miller immediately looks at the bench at Coach Lutz, and he shrugs. He's like, I didn't say anything. I didn't say anything to him. Like, he didn't even say anything to him. It's just whatever. It's the Markel Brown tech. I was sitting underneath the goal that night. I was rolling up cords for Fox or ESPN or whoever it was. So I had a front row seat to that technical. Great memories. Sitting baseline watching Markel Brown throw down 360s 6 feet in front of me. But yeah, he's special. And I really still think that this is a good basketball team. That game against Oklahoma Saturday was really competitive between what I thought looked like two tournament teams. Like, I'm all in on OU and OSU both making it to the tournament. And you know what? Go ahead. Give me Bedlam. Give me Bedlam on the 7-10, 6-11, 8-9. I don't care. Give it to me again. let's take a fully healthy Oklahoma State roster in there and let's see what it looks like. Because those two teams are very evenly matched, and I think that they both have a good chance to make the tournament. Big 12's loaded, Carson. Absolutely loaded. Yeah. You're going to have to beat some good teams. But Oklahoma State beat some good teams last year. They won 7 games in conference last year, and this team is far and above better than what last year's team was. So not sure where Clary stands. I imagine Fala is going to be back for conference play. It's Cupcake City until conference play. You've got Cal State Fullerton on Sunday, and then you've got an 8-day break for Christmas. Monday the 29th, Bethune-Cookman at home, and then you start conference play Saturday, January 3rd at Texas Tech. So I would imagine Fala is going to be back and ready to go at least by that game, if not for the little tune-up on Monday against Bethune-Cookman.
Yeah, good opportunity to rest him, to put him on ice until you got to go to Lubbock. That's going to be a bear of a challenge there. What did you make of the crowd? I mean, it was a majority probably Oklahoma State fans. Good turnout from OU as well. I don't mean to pretend it was all orange there. There was a decent amount of red there, but a lot of talk after the game, not only from Steve Lutz, but also J.C. Hoyt about playing there in Oklahoma City, in Paycom. How do you feel about the home and home, or like playing in Stillwater or Norman versus Paycom? What are your thoughts on it?
I kind of like it being in Paycom. I think it's a fun, neutral site thing. It's easy for me to say. I live in Oklahoma City, and I wasn't able to go to that game this year because I had a birthday party to go to, but hopefully future versions of that game I'll be able to go and take kiddo, and it's just right down the road. It's a fun game to play in Gallagher-Iba. I hate going to Norman and that arena. They haven't built a new arena, have they? No, Lloyd Noble. It's a total dump. I was there when Cade dropped 40. It's a total dump. And I don't know. I enjoy it being in the Paycom Center. I enjoy seeing the Thunder logos out there and seeing the NBA three-point line out there so you can see where guys are letting it fly from. It's not exactly centrally located, but it's somewhat in between the two schools. And I think Oklahoma State most years will have probably a 60-40 advantage. And if OSU gets really good, I think Oklahoma State could have a 70-30 advantage if the Cowboys get really good. So, yeah, I kind of like the neutral site. What about you?
I like it a lot. Look, I'm not here to make excuses. I'm done. I'm actually done talking about attendance in Gallagher-Iba. I was tired of talking about it 10 years ago. But you can make a case, Colby, that there's as many or more Oklahoma State fans in the Oklahoma City metropolitan as there are within, or as many as there are willing to drive to Stillwater. I think you could probably get more fans in Paycom. And the fact they're not in the same conference anymore playing twice, I think makes it all that much more realistic to do what they did. If they were playing twice in conference, certainly you're going to Lloyd Noble, you're going to Gallagher-Iba, and you circle that date on the calendar. But I'm cool with it like this, split up conference-wise, so I had no issue with it. I did get a kick out of this, though. Can I read a text? I'm in this group text, the Fantasy Dojo, my buddies from high school. We've been there. We started this league I think my freshman year of high school. And these guys, they're all talking about the playoff, as you can imagine. They're fired up about football. But my buddy Dan Roten went to the game, took a picture of the crowd. And my buddy Dave Seat, loved the Seat family out of Edmond. If you went to Oklahoma Christian, you probably know the Seats. Dave said, a lot of orange. Haven't had a thing to cheer for in an eternity, so 20,000 show up for a fringe tourney squad. My response? OU couldn't get 10,000 for Blake Griffin and Trey Young, LOL. And he emphasized it with the exclamation points. And that's something that always stuck with me when I covered OU and OSU working in TV. I was there for like the Blake Griffin year that they went to the Elite Eight. They had the number one player in all of college basketball. He was on Sports Center every night. And I look up in Lloyd Noble and there's empty seats everywhere. They're just not a basketball school. They are all football, and they'll entertain basketball if they're really good. They'll get behind them when they get to the tournament maybe. But I thought that was a funny comment.
Yeah, look, they're simpletons. It's fine. They can only focus on one thing at a time for an entire calendar year. You know, they can't show up for 35 extra games. They've got room for 12, maybe a 13th, and that's all they've got the bandwidth for. It's okay. It is what it is.
Yep, it's fine. It's fine. So,
thank you for teeing that up for me to take just a brief little shot at OU fans. That was fun.
That was fun. I wasn't quick on the draw on my Colby crash out. That was just a minor crash out. We won't get into that.
Yeah, that was very small. By the way, we have not talked fantasy football in a while. I'm assuming that means things are not going well. How is your fantasy football season going? Because this week is semifinals.
Yeah, I'm in the semis in the dojo, the fantasy dojo there in Edmond, Oklahoma.
Okay.
I'm in the semis. Dave Seed is the number 1 seed, Mr. Talking his smack on Bedlam Hoops. So I can get some even more retribution with a win this weekend. And that's the one I care about the most because we've done Yahoo since my freshman year of high school. So like on Yahoo, you can go back in time and look at every season. It's got every finish. It's got your head-to-head with each guy. So, like, this is, like, recorded history here. You want to win this one. And I won it the very first year, and I hadn't won it since until, like, 2 or 3 years ago. It's been killing me. So I need to get another ring after – I've got 2. I need to have a lot more than that. But the other league that you were in last year that you're not in this year, I had, like, the 3rd most points and didn't make the playoffs. Fantasy's so stupid. Why do we put ourselves through this?
And it's not just why do we put ourselves through it. Why do we love it so much is the question. Because we love it. I love it. I know you love it. I'm in 2 leagues. I was the 1 seed in both leagues. So I had buys in the quarters. Both leagues, 6 make the playoffs. I had buys in both leagues. And now I'm projected to win in the semis. Obviously, projections don't really matter. But one of those leagues I really want to win only because I was the highest scoring team in week 1. I was the highest scoring team in the league after every week of the season. I outscored the 2nd place team by like 200 points. Like I am an absolute juggernaut. And I have not won this league. And I'm the commissioner of this league. So I'm like the TV show, The League, where Kevin MacArthur goes outside and rants. And he's like, every year I put this league together for you morons every year. And I never win. I won the first 2 years the league was in existence when we were in college, like 2013, 2014. I've been in the playoffs every year except 1 since then, and I have not won the league in 11 years. So this is my year, or I'm going to throw a toddler tantrum.
Be glad this was when you were in college. I grew up, my dad played fantasy football in like the early 80s, and he was the commissioner. And I distinctly remember this. He'd have to get the newspaper out and by hand tally the statistics up himself every single week. Our house phone, back when people had home phones, people would have to call in to pick up players and say, I want to pick up this guy and drop this guy, and he'd have to record it all. So that's what a commissioner used to have to do. Now you just sign up on Yahoo, ESPN, CBS. So be glad you weren't doing this back in the 80s like my old man, the olds.
His entry fee to that league better have been comped. Surely he wasn't paying an entry fee and doing that amount of work.
I hope not. I'm afraid to ask him after that. So he had a very sound process of data reporting for his fantasy football league back in the 80s. You know who you need to call if you need to do that? That's the Brewster Consulting Group. Do any of these sound familiar at your company? Our processes are manual and inefficient with no documentation. Our data reporting takes forever, like my dad's fantasy league, and isn't accurate. Carson just wants to go outside and play, Dad. What are you doing with the newspaper? We hear all about the hype about AI, but we have no clue what it actually means for our business, or your project runs over time and over budget. If so, talk with our friends at Brewster Consulting Group. You know them. They help build organizations run like well-oiled machines. They've also delivered solutions for large international enterprises like DP World. Even better, Brewster was founded and is run by a proud OSU alum and season ticket holder. Learn more about them at brewsterconsulting.com. or learn more about their methodologies by connecting with them at Brewster Consulting Group on LinkedIn or YouTube. With that said, Colby, we've been kind of waiting. We've been kind of refreshing our Twitter feeds. We've been waiting for some news regarding Drew Mestemaker, the prolific freshman quarterback. It's still crazy to think he put up all those wacky numbers down there at North Texas as a freshman. He has entered the portal. The North Texas quarterback, all arrows still pointing towards Oklahoma State, but there are other people vying for his services, Colby, and it's not going to be an easy fight, but it does appear from all the people that have covered North Texas, that have covered Eric Morris, and certainly Drew Mestemaker, OSU definitely has the inside track, but you hear about schools like Indiana, who's got a lot of money. We've all praised Kurt Signetti, but he does have big backing there from the Indiana people up there in Bloomington. So it's not going to come cheap, Colby. And there's been talk of $3 million. The Cincinnati quarterbacks reportedly fielding offers of $4 million. keep in mind Eric Morris only makes $3 million, Colby. So it won't come cheap. I don't know how much of a hometown discount he's willing to take, but I certainly would expect at this stage that he becomes an Oklahoma State Cowboy. But what are your sentiments on that?
I've operated all along since the Eric Morris hire was made, and really even throughout the process. I told you I thought that Morris was the easy button for a quick fix because I figured he'd bring Mestemaker over with him. I've been operating as if, the coach comes, the quarterback who is, owes the coach in large part to his success, recruited him, brought him in, put him in his system, turned him into the nation's leader in passing. Not necessarily that he owes Eric Morris to just turn his nose up at $2 million, if that's the difference between what Oklahoma State is offering and what, say, Indiana is offering. But there's a relationship there. I think there's a comfort factor there. You have to think, if you're Drew Mestemaker, does this success get replicated elsewhere, or should I just go and spend another 2-3 years with the coach who just got me to this point and continue to flourish and have that put me into the league? Like, that's the question you've got to ask if you're Drew Mestemaker. This guy he's being looked at nationally. Like, he is one of the hottest guys on the market. Drew Mestemakers don't just come roaming through the portal all the time. Like, if you ask people, you want Drew Mestemaker or you want Dylan Raiola? No question. You want Mestemaker or you want Sorsby? No question. You want Mestemaker or you want Lagway? No question. You want Mestemaker. Like, he's better than those guys. So, yeah, I think he's going to wind up in Oklahoma State. But the better he's gotten, there are some really big programs that are going to have quarterback vacancies. And there's really big money being thrown around at this position in college football. Depends how much Oklahoma State has and is willing to give at that position. But Eric Morris, the relationship is there. Raj Murti, the relationship is there. And I really hope that those relationships are enough to bring Mestemaker to Oklahoma State, because I'm going to be heartbroken if we don't get him, Carson. That is the quick fix, is Mestemaker coming with Morris.
It is. And while we certainly would expect, even if Mestemaker weren't to come to Stillwater, that Eric Morris has proven he's able to figure out the quarterback position. Chandler Morris decided to leave North Texas to go to Virginia to take a big money offer. Boom, here comes Drew Mestemaker. So I will disagree with you, though. I don't know if he's viewed that high nationally over those names you mentioned, because I do think there's a sentiment out there of he hasn't done it at the Power 4 level. He's done it at the AAC level. They got dump trucked against Tulane. While his stock is incredibly high, I don't deny that, I don't think he's viewed nationally quite in the same light as perhaps you and I do. I don't think a Lagway would be viewed below him. Sorsby maybe even as well, if he's fielding $4 million offers. So there is still some question marks here. Is he a product of the system, or is it just him? I don't believe he's a product of a system. I think you just pay attention to people who study quarterbacks for the NFL draft. They are really high on Mestemaker's tools, mechanics, everything that he brings to the table. So I'm just playing a little bit of devil's advocate, because I do think there are questions from national people and even bigger programs even that he's done it, but not at this level. Can he transition away from Eric Morris and do it at a higher level? That's a big question mark if you're going to give this guy a bunch of money.
Yeah, so my counter to that, I could get behind somebody who views Sorsby a little bit higher than Mestemaker. I think Sorsby's a solid player, has done some good things at Cincinnati. Dylan Raiola and DJ Lagway have also not done it at the Power 4 level, despite significant opportunity. Like, Raiola, just the epitome of average the entire time he's been at Nebraska. And Lagway, I think average would be a compliment for Lagway down at Florida. Now, grant you, Lagway has dealt with some injuries. So I really, someone from the outside looking in who has not watched a ton of Lagway, I don't want to just totally rip on him, because I know he did deal with some injuries throughout this season, but that was a bad football team. And he was quarterbacking that team that went 4-8 in that conference. And, the only thing that they have to hang their hat on is they kept Texas out of the playoffs with that win. But Sorsby I'm okay with. I don't think Raiola or Lagway have proven that they can do it at the Power 4 level either.
No, that's fair. And I certainly would agree with you that, like, when you mentioned the sheer connection that he and Morris had, the fact that Morris was the only one who truly believed in him and offered them that preferred walk-on spot with no film whatsoever at the quarterback. And to me, I kind of equate this when we talk about the coaching hires. Like, you want to go to somewhere you trust, because how many quarterbacks have we seen, Colby, enter the portal, go to a different school, and it just doesn't work out. Your leash is shorter, the trust is much shorter. There's not that comfortability that you were referencing. Like, we see this a lot with quarterback. Like, look at the Nico from Tennessee transferring, going to UCLA. Like, where was he without Heupel this year? I mean, that matters a great deal. And you're risking, sure, you can go take a bigger money offer elsewhere, but you're risking the big money in the NFL by going somewhere you don't know, with a coaching staff you don't know. That's the risk you take. And it's worked out for Chandler Morris. They had a really good year. He's made a lot of money. But there's a lot of other examples where it hasn't worked out.
Yeah, is that Nico Ayamala Viela?
Yeah, I didn't want to try.
Ayamala Viela? Oh, I thought I had it. I was on anesthesia.
I'm going to leave you, is what he said.
I was on anesthesia like 9 hours ago. I get a pass. Yeah, it's different because, Carson, no matter what, if you go to a new staff, they can be great offensive minds and they can do everything they can to shape that offense around you as a quarterback. But the system will be different. Like, if he goes anywhere other than Oklahoma State, the system will be different. And it's a different voice in your ear. I don't know. He just has so much success with Morris. It just feels like a great opportunity to build on that success. And look, I'm totally coming at this from a biased Oklahoma State fan perspective. He was a redshirt freshman. He could come spend the next 3 years in Stillwater. Carson, that would be absurd to get 3 straight years of Mestemaker. It would just be fantastic. And I think you can see some real highs from this Oklahoma State offense as Eric Morris identifies, whoever comes next. But you got to land him first. So I really hope that they've been in constant communication. I really hope Oklahoma State lands him, because we're not just talking about a 1-year rental. We're talking about potentially the first 3 years of the Morris era being with a quarterback that he knows, a quarterback that he likes, a quarterback that clearly knows and operates well in his system. So I'm more than anything, the one piece of news Oklahoma State has to get this offseason, in my opinion, is Drew Mestemaker as the quarterback.
Yep, your cat made another appearance. Dr. Evil, Russell Westbrook, the cat, makes another popular appearance if you're watching on YouTube. No, I mean, I think that that's kind of where we're at. He's in the portal. I think most people expect him to end up at Oklahoma State, and that would be just a tremendous way to kick off the Eric Morris era, having your, like, to your point, your franchise quarterback that you're going to have for multiple years. That would be tremendous. And the quarterback depth chart is taking shape. Zane Flores has officially entered the transfer portal, which I think leads to more questions about what's Haas Haney going to do. I know OSU did sign 2 quarterbacks on National Signing Day. So we don't really know how the depth chart's going to shake out, but we do know Zane Flores is in the portal. And look, I'm not going to beat up on the guy. I do think a lot of people are making far too many excuses for why he hasn't worked out at Oklahoma State. At a certain point, this is not, as I said during the season, Colby, this is not 2013, 14, where you get the 22 games or 19 games, whatever the metric, the Gundy math metric worked out to, of experience that is required to be a legitimate Big 12 quarterback. Those days are long gone. If you're on the field, you produce or you're out, especially at the quarterback position. There is too much on the line, not just game to game competing in the Big 12. There's too much on the line for the school in this NIL era, the athletic department, the university, to give a guy much more time. And look, I understand the excuses. I understand 3 offensive coordinators. I understand all of the issues that were on offense. But at a certain point, it's up to the player to make things happen. And you're a product of your system, but there's times where you got to go make things happen yourself. And I just didn't think he did that quite frequently enough. Far too infrequently.
Yeah, I think it's okay to feel bad for Zane for the way things worked out in Stillwater. Like, this isn't what he had in mind when he committed. And it went bad, right? And I talked about this several weeks ago. Sometimes you bet on yourself, right? He stuck around. He bet on himself. He was in the quarterback competition because of the injury to Haas. He ended up getting the opportunity. It didn't work out. I think it's okay to feel bad for him that things didn't go the way he wanted to in Stillwater, while also acknowledging, as an Oklahoma State fan, I've seen enough of Zane Flores. Let's fish in a different pond, and best of luck to him wherever he winds up. I don't know where that's going to be. I would guess that it's not going to be at the Power 4 level. He doesn't have much good on tape. As a matter of fact, coaches go watch his tape, they're probably going to see more bad than good, because the Oklahoma State offense was more bad than good. And he was the signal caller, and he was the guy making it happen or not happen. So, yeah, it didn't work out for Zane. You can feel bad for him for the cards that he was dealt, the end of the Gundy era, just the way it all came crashing down, and he just happened to be the guy standing back there taking the snaps. But, yeah, I think I saw what I needed to see out of Zane at Oklahoma State, and I wish him well at his next stop.
Yeah, and look, I'd love to see him thrive somewhere else. That would be great, because again, he was dealt a bad hand. I'm not sugarcoating that. So hopefully he has success elsewhere, because he had a good spirit about him. Was nothing but professional after every game. Had a lot of people he could have blamed and thrown under the bus, and didn't do that. And that says a lot about him as a person. More portal news. Wendell Gregory. Probably most of us expected this, coming off, Big 12 newcomer of the year on defense. He's in the portal, Colby. That was one of the top priorities, I think, of this offseason for Oklahoma State. He's in the portal. He could come back, as we all know, with the portal. Perhaps he can renegotiate with Oklahoma State, things of that nature. But big loss for the defense as it stands today with him in the portal.
Yeah, I think this is one of two things. Number one, he's ready to move on, try something somewhere else. Just a bad experience, 1-11 in Stillwater. Might not have totally enjoyed the last several months and just wants a fresh start. Totally get that if that's the case. This could also very much be a restricted free agent situation. Hey, I'm going to hop in this portal, Raj. I'm going to go see what the offers are. I'm going to come back to you. If you want to match, I'd love to stay in Stillwater. If not, I'm going to go wherever they value my talents the most. So I think it's one of those two things. I don't blame him if he winds up leaving. If he comes back, then I think it's probably that second scenario where he's seeing what his value might be. And, Oklahoma State would love to have him. That's a great defensive piece to build on at the start of the Morris era. So, yeah, and then the start of the Cassidy era. So, yeah, I hope Oklahoma State gets him back. But if not, you move on and you try to rebuild that side of the ball.
Yeah, he led OSU with 4 sacks on the year and 12 tackles for loss. And that tackles for loss number, Colby, led all FBS freshmen. He was named Big 12 Defensive Freshman of the Year and a third team All Big 12. And this kind of dovetails on our conversation we had on the reload. A 4-star prospect coming out of high school. He had offers from Arkansas, Auburn, Michigan, Tennessee, USC, and others. And like I said on the reload, it's all well and good that Eric Morris has been a wizard finding quarterbacks, finding, under the radar recruits, but Oklahoma State has to. Let me say it again. Oklahoma State must have a top 25 recruiting class year in, year out if they want to win Big 12 championships. Because it was all well and good that Mike turned 2 and 3 stars into 4 and 5. That was great. They had plenty of chances to win more than one Big 12 championship. But I think there's a case to make why they didn't win as many Bedlam games or as many Big 12 championship games is you get into that arena against that level of competition, against those types of teams, the cream rises to the top. And OSU did not have enough cream rising to the top. And so while I trust Eric Morris to get quarterbacks, I think that'll take care of itself. It is time for Oklahoma State to step it up a notch in recruiting. Get out of the 40s, the 50s, and get into that top 25. Oklahoma State is a top 25 program perennially. Mike Gundy turned it into that. And it's time they recruit like it. So as much as I like the under-the-radar prospects, Colby, get more Wendell Gregory's, these high-level 4 stars with that level of offer sheet, and get them to Stillwater, get them on campus, and keep them. Simple as that.
Yeah, a guy like Taj Overton, who I don't know where his recruiting process stands at this point. I'd have to go look into that. But guys in state who are really good on that side of the ball. And like I said last week on the reload, you want to go out and you want to get a 2 or a 3-star at quarterback because you've got your system, you've got your spreadsheet, you've got your formula. You know what you're doing at that position. Coach, I trust you. It's like a good woman. Trust her until she gives you a reason not to. At quarterback, I trust you until you give me a reason not to. I need some dudes on the lines. I need a front 7 that strikes fear into people when they get off the bus. I need 5 guys up front that can allow Mestemaker to stand back there for 5 seconds if he wants to let guys get open down the field. I sent you a spray chart on Twitter just where he threw it all over the field throughout the season. Oh, my! It was not a phone booth, Carson. It was not a phone booth. There were little gray dots, short left, short right, short over the middle, medium, every side of the field, deep, all over the place. It was unbelievable, almost as unbelievable as our good friends at Wolf Corporation. Cowboy fans, if you are looking to sell or lease your commercial property, turn to Wolf Corporation, Oklahoma's trusted commercial real estate listing brokerage since 2010. Their experienced team specializes in showcasing your retail, office, or industrial space to the right buyers and tenants across the state. Based right here in Oklahoma, they deliver results with local expertise. Visit them at wolfcorporation.com. That's WULF corporation.com, or call 405-308-3480 today. Go Pokes. Carson, just in general, like the lines, let's just say the front seven defensively and the offensive line is where I need the stars to come from. Everything else, if you can get quarterback right, which we trust Coach Morris to, and you get O-line and front seven right, I think everything else falls into place. You can just make everything else work if you get those three things right. And I realize that those three things I just listed are 13 positions.
Yeah. That maths to me. I mean, I would certainly agree with that. And that's just what needs to happen. And as you're talking about, like, just the skill positions, like that's where, like, the Mike Leach era Tech teams with all the skill talent, they didn't have that on the defensive line. That's why their defense was never quite good enough to keep them in those tight games where, like I mentioned, where the cream rises to the top. So yeah, that's what has to happen. And I just gotta say, congratulations to Josh Ford. He's transferring to Alabama. Like, that's an awesome experience for the kid. I mean, who am I to say don't go to Alabama from OSU after going 1-11 this year? I know he's a Stillwater guy. Maybe he wants to get out of Stillwater. Like, that's the way I view it. My question to you, though, is, when I was doing this show with Colby Powell, with Kyle Porter for so many years, we just marveled at all the guys that had better NFL careers than they did in Stillwater. Like, Blake Jarwin was on what I coined the Tyreek Hill All-Stars, guys that just took off other places in the NFL and at other schools, frankly. Is Josh Ford good enough to make it to the Tyreek Hill All-Star team?
How would I know? I've only seen him play at Oklahoma State the last 2 years. I don't know. I think we're going to find out next fall. Yeah. I mean, it's hard whenever you watch him, on the field for 3 plays for -1 yard, and then he walks back to the sideline. We're going to know next season if he's good enough to be a starter on that team, or at least be one of the tight ends in like a 2-man set. If they're running some of that personnel, then yeah, that would be awesome to see. I'll be rooting for him big time. Like you said, when that came down the pipeline, I was like, good for Josh Ford, man. You hop in the portal, you're going to go somewhere. You're a Stillwater guy through and through. You decide to hop in the portal for a new experience, and you go to Bama. Good for you, man. It's not Nick Saban Bama, but it's still Bama. So I'm happy for him, and I hope he thrives down there.
Yeah, that'll be kind of fun to watch from afar. I mean, look, certainly wish he would have stayed at Oklahoma State, but I get it. You're going to Alabama. I mean, and like, I don't think people think in terms like that opens a lot of doors for you playing football at the University of Alabama in that world and down there in the Southeast and beyond. So good on him. We need to get to like the coaching hires, and there's been quite a few since you and I last recorded. I think the big one came down today. Sean Brophy is following him. And look, a lot of the names, Colby, are names we ran down the night we did the emergency pod that they hired Eric Morris. I mean, you and I went down to the North Texas roster, pulled it up. A lot of those guys are following him. Julian Wilson, defensive backs, guy you called games for at Southmore, joining the staff as a DB coach. But Brophy is really a super, super young coach, one of the youngest in the country. Played his last 2 years at Incarnate Word for Eric Morris. And it comes down to that comfort factor we discussed earlier with Mestemaker. Morris bringing in his guys, right down to the strength coach, which we discussed with the reload guys. Brophy, you got to assume most of the staff will join him. I think Jordan Davis, the other offensive guy, quarterback type guy, offensive coordinator, there's reports of linking him to East Carolina, so perhaps he will not come to Oklahoma State. But his staff is certainly starting to take shape. And, oh, by the way, Greg Richmond coming back to Stillwater after being let go by Mike Gundy. I tweeted that gif of Vince McMahon, like, strutting back on down the ramp. Like, that's Greg Richmond walking back into the West End Zone, man. Back like I never left, baby.
Yeah, that's just wild to have Greg Richmond back. And like you said, Brophy coming over, and Brophy will be responsible for the quarterbacks. Morris said he'll be calling the plays on game day, which I think is what Oklahoma State fans wanted to hear. But having the guy who works with the quarterbacks throughout the week, getting him in that's big time. I mean, that's Mestemaker's guy, I would assume, as well. And I love that you're making me such a veteran, Carson, but I actually did not overlap with Julian Wilson at Southmore. My years at Southmore were like 16, 17, 18, something like that. And he would have been there like 10, 11, maybe. I actually think Julian Wilson and I were probably about the same age. We might have even been same high school graduating class. So you're making me a bit more of a veteran than I am in the play-by-play game.
Well, I hope he went to Southmore. I mean, I'm getting old now. I may be confusing it with another OU
I think
back.
I think he did, but it was just a little bit before my time
Southmore.
at Southmore. I called the Casey Thompson Bray Walker team. That was my first year at Southmore, and they went like 8-2 or something. Only lost to Eastside teams, and then those guys transferred out. Those guys hopped in the portal for their senior year of high school football, and Southmore I think went 0-10 the following year.
Yeah, they bottomed out. Interesting note though, Julian Wilson, his dad Daryl McCowan, lettered in football at Oklahoma State in 1991 and 1992. So even though he played for the University of Oklahoma, does have some Oklahoma State ties. He joined Skylar Cassidy, who you mentioned. They're bringing him in from North Texas as well. But he was on the Sam Houston staff that Skylar Cassidy brought with him from Sam Houston to North Texas. So really, for people who aren't aware, Eric Morris made a very shrewd hire with Skylar Cassidy and brought in a defensive staff from Sam Houston that did a very, very good job there and just installed their entire system, their entire staff. And that's why they had such market improvement on defense with that staff. And he's bringing them straight to Stillwater. And that, again, like, would have been great to go get a Jim Knowles, certainly. That would have been fun. But you're not Eric Morris. And your salary and your livelihood depends on who do you trust to go get a stop. Well, it's going to be the guy you've worked with, not a guy you don't know. And so I get that for sure. And the staff's taking shape. And, look, it's going to look just like last year's North Texas staff for the most part. So a lot of things still to be determined for the rest of the staff. There's reports of the Wake Forest wide receivers coach being linked as well. That's not been made official by Oklahoma State, I believe, at this recording time. So
has it not? Let me look. Reports Oklahoma State hiring Cooper Kupp's former coach to lead wide receivers. It's on. Yeah, CBS Sports reporter Matt Zentitz reports the Wake Forest receivers coach Nick Edwards is joining the OSU staff in the same role. Most famous for being the receivers coach at Eastern Washington when one Mr. Cooper Kupp was at Eastern Washington. So that is his claim to fame.
Yeah, and certainly it looks like that's who they're going to hire. But I was just saying that OSU hasn't announced it. They haven't tweeted out the release yet, is my understanding.
Okay,
but
gotcha.
For all intents and purposes, he will be most likely joining the staff. That guy knows what he's talking about and has accurate reporting. So young staff, Colby. And that to me, as we kind of wrap up here, I always go back to when Bob Stoops got to OU, they were horrendous. They were coming off the John Blake years. Prior to that, 1 year of Howard Schnellenberger. They had a bunch of young dudes willing to headbutt you without a helmet, ready to break their bodies to win games, ready to just kill or eat what they kill. They were so hungry. And I think that youth that he's bringing in on the coaching staff, one, it fits this new era where everything's an unknown, which you've done a great job laying out. But two, just they don't have no skins on the wall as far as winning a Big 12 championship. All of the things that I believe made Mike Gundy really comfortable, high salaries, things like that. And you saw that a little bit with Bob Stoops. He got a little older, wasn't probably working as hard. Well, now they got a bunch of young, hungry dudes that are going to outwork people. And I'm really excited about the staff he's putting together. Brophy, to me, looks like a rising star. A lot of people that in college football circles nationally have a lot of good things to say about him. So I think Morris is putting together a really good staff that we saw do a lot of good things at North Texas. The question is, can they up it to the level they're now at? I think that's just like Mestemaker. That to me is an unknown. We're going to have to find that out once they start playing games. But solid start, I believe, for Eric Morris, even if you tie in signing day, getting the amount of kids he got to commit on just a few days' notice. So far, so good, really, for Eric Morris, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I'm all in on bringing in a young staff. And I think this is what we talked about. Mike Gundy got really comfortable with hiring older coaches who had been around a long time, who had worked with people Mike had worked with or worked with Mike directly in Meacham's case, but just guys who were kind of known commodities over the last 30 years in the game of college football. And now, I mean, we got guys in their 20s getting hired to come out here and be a part of the staff. I think Brophy is 29. So, we went from guys who were born in 67 to guys who are yelling 6'7". It's just we're out here hiring the 6'7" generation to coach football at Oklahoma State. But how many times have we talked about the fact that your grandpa's college football, it's gone. Your dad's college football is gone. Those days are gone. This is a new game. And we're getting an entire staff in that is like fully bought in on this is what college football is, and we can thrive in this era. We don't have to take 2 and 3 stars and develop them over 4 years to get production out of guys. We can thrive in this era right now, and I'm excited to see what it looks like. I think that last offseason, we were hoping that Mike Gundy would skew younger with his coordinator hires, skew younger with some recruiting guys. That didn't happen. Ended up hiring a couple of guys born in the 60s and didn't work out. So, yeah, skewing much younger now with Eric Morris's staff. And I think just because of how vastly different college football is, I think that's a good thing.
It has to be. It is a good thing. And it's going to be a fun new chapter of OSU football, and I'm curious to see what the season ticket sales look like will come August. I got to think those things are ramping up. It's an exciting new era. We've talked so much about the hire and just how universally approved it was, and I just think it's going to be just an exciting time to be an OSU football supporter and follower because it's just been a long time coming. I mean. We don't have to get into all that, but I'm really excited for the new era. Anything else before we get out of here, Colby? Been a good time. I'm getting ready for Christmas, and I'm excited to spend some time with the fam. I'll be taking some time off around the holidays. What's your holidays looking like?
Yeah, my wife's off next week. I'll be working, but I'll probably be doing probably working like some half days and stuff. We'll probably be able to get together. I would think. I don't know. We can maybe get together Tuesday or something next week and fire out a pre-Christmas episode. Maybe talk about maybe whatever we're most looking forward to giving or receiving, and then a Christmas present that you want Oklahoma State to get, something like that. We can make it work.
Okay, let's do that. Again, I think I'm working till Tuesday, and then I'm off till New Year's. I think the 2nd. So I always like to.
You're off the week after.
Yeah. I like to take
Dana's
off and watch
Dana's off
man.
Christmas week.
I got to watch the football on New Year's
Yeah.
Day. I got to.
Oh.
And our big New Year's Eve tradition is we go to the Thunder game on New Year's Eve, sit down on the floor. Our Sydney's boss is very kind, and that's kind of become our tradition. So,
college football playoff. Any of these games this weekend do anything for you? I think the James Madison and Tulane games, not totally interested until I look up and it's close in the second half of the fourth quarter. But OU Alabama for the third time in 13 months in Norman. Come on, committee. What are we doing? Roll Tide. But the Miami A&M game, like I'm kind of all in on the Miami A&M game because I think either of those teams are built well enough physically to win a national championship. And I don't know. A&M played a soft schedule, but I think they're really good. Miami had a couple of really close one-score losses, but they've got NFL dudes all across both lines. And Malachi Toney, Kadarius' little brother, is just an absolute freak. So I don't know. That game gets me fired up a little bit.
Yeah, that's a good one. It strikes me like a 4-5 matchup in the NCAA tournament. Two really good teams that whoever wins that one could really make some noise moving forward. I like that matchup a lot too. And I am curious to I have so many questions about OU still. It's weird that they matched them against Bama because I have just as many questions about Alabama. They've looked terrible down the stretch. They struggled against a bad Auburn team in addition to getting their doors blown off against Georgia. I don't know what to expect in that game, but I am curious to see is OU, are they capable of beating Alabama twice in 1 year? I don't know. We'll see. But to me, I don't have that much interest in the playoff. I would like to see like an Indiana upset the establishment rather than just seeing Georgia or Ohio State win it again. I'm so over what was that? I saw a stat the other day. Maybe we talked about it on the reload with those guys. Only like the last time a new national champion happened, I'm butchering the stat, but the same like handful of schools have won the last like 15 national. It goes back a long way before we had like a first-time national champion or a first-time in this era champion. That's what I would like to see.
Yeah, that would be pretty cool. I also think, and this will be my last thought, it's getting late, but that Miami A&M game, I think that game is like a tiny little referendum on both of those conferences. If A&M can go out and just dominate Miami, I think that looks so bad for the ACC after they snuck in and, what people think about that conference anyway. And A&M, didn't really play anybody in SEC play. But let's say Miami goes out and runs for 230 yards and pushes A&M around and wins that game on the road. Then all of a sudden, I think we have to look at the ACC and go, okay, maybe they're playing a little better physical brand of football than we thought out there. The SEC, look, still pretty good at the top. In general, I think it's kind of overrated. I think OU's average. I think Bama's average. I kind of think A&M is average. I think Georgia's the only great team in that conference right now. I think Ole Miss is above average, but I don't think they're going to win a title. So I don't know. I think there could be some conclusions drawn about conferences if either of those teams win big between A&M and Miami.
Yeah, like I'm sick of the SEC and beyond sick of the Big Ten getting any benefit of the doubt. I'm just tired of people just assuming that you're in that conference, you're better. Like it's time for Tech to take care of business. They look really freaking good. I didn't realize they had won, every conference game by 21 points or more. That's like one of the most dominant regular seasons we've ever seen in the Big 12. You got to go back to, not even Vince Young did that. He had to scrape by against Kansas up in Lawrence the year they won the national title. So that they've had a truly impressive, truly historic, really, if you factor that in, regular season. And it's time, like, I would love to see, like, yes, to your point, I want to see the ACC, Big 12 dethrone some of these Big 10 SEC schools that just get the benefit of the doubt because of the three letters on their name. They're not Nick Saban's Alabama, but they get credit as if they are.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And, I'm pulling hard for Tech just for Big 12 respect purposes. And I helped somebody with an AP bracket, not an AP bracket, an AP ballot voting. So I had to go in and do a lot of research, pardon me, on the teams. Texas Tech had a historically great Big 12 defense this season. And I'm sure whenever Oklahoma State did it in 2021, podcasts elsewhere in the Big 12 weren't spending too much time talking about how great Oklahoma State's defense was. I'd like to give some kudos to Texas Tech's defense. That was a historically great Big 12 defense this season. I think I had 7 of their guys on my first team.
Yeah, that says it all. And I mean, you kind of want Joey McGuire to keep winning. Stay at Tech. You win a national title, you're a made man. You ain't leaving. They got to kick you out of there when you got to, like, at the bottom. Like, Joey McGuire would have to do what Mike Gundy just did if he wins a national title to lose his job, right?
He'd have to do what Mike Gundy did, what Ed Orgeron did, or what Sharon Moore did, I think, if he won a national title for them to kick him out of there.
Joey. I'm a big Joey McGuire fan now, as long as Eric Morris is the head coach at Oklahoma State. But that's a conversation.
Hey, Texas Tech, do you like us now? We're chanting Joey on our podcast. Do you like us now?
We're still Xerox U, according to them, which, hey, I'm ready. I'm ready for the Texas Tech rivalry. I'm ready for that to become the new Bedlam in the Big 12. Bring it on. We're very similar schools. I've had great times going to Lubbock. I've always enjoyed my time there. And it's time OSU get on your level because we got a long way to go. But I do think OSU's positioned themselves to challenge starting next year if they get Drew Mestemaker. And that, to me, is very, very exciting. So bring on the tortillas. We'll bring our elf, Eric Morris, and we're ready to go to war.
Absolutely. Great stuff. We'll be back next week. Everybody have a great weekend as we prepare for the Christmas season. Christmas season's here, but the day is right around the corner. Carson, thanks for doing a late one this week, and thanks everyone for joining us as always. Go Pokes.